All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is Harris. I run Coded Level. This is basically a boot camp where we teach people data analytics, SQL, and real world problem solving to help you basically grow your career. So today we're facing a real world problem, analytics problem that's super relevant if you work with SaaS businesses or if you just want to level up your SQL skills. This is going to be an excellent video for you guys. So stay tuned and let's go through the actual problem. All right, so imagine this. You're working at a fast-growing SaaS company. Let's not give it a name for the sake of this video, but anyways, the product team comes to you and they say, "Hey, we're losing customers and we don't know why." So as an analyst, this might sound simple to you to begin, but the idea of this, which is churn, is actually complicated, right? Some people they stop paying. Some people they actually stop using the product. Others might have frustrations that they've never actually addressed before, right? So this comes down to the real question, which isn't just actually who's leaving, but rather why are they leaving? And as analysts, that's what we're trying to figure out, right? So our job isn't just to write a bunch of SQL code, Python code, clean data, transform it. No, that's not all we do. We need to think like analysts and help the company make data-driven decisions. So by the end of this, you'll not only know how to detect churn risk, but also how to think strategically as a data professional. And this is essentially the kind of work that separates entry level analysts from senior analysts. Okay. So to start this off, let's go through this. And all right, so before we actually write any SQL code, we need to define what churn means for our business. Okay. Here are some common SaaS churn metrics that we see. Customer churn rate. So this is just the percentage of customers who leave and they're not back. They just left the product, they unsubscribed, they're gone. Then you have revenue churn rate. This is the percentage of revenue lost from the customers who have left. Um, or from other actions, right? And then you have retention rate, which is the percentage of customers who renew and stay with us, right? The healthy customer. Though these are some good high level metrics and give us sort of a holistic view of what's going on when it comes to churn in general, it doesn't tell us why people are leaving. Okay. So in order to do that, and this whole process that we're doing right now, this is important. Okay. Planning as an analyst, understanding the problem and breaking it down is critical to any sort of problem solving you do, not just when you're working with these type of business problems. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up with some reasons as to what causes a customer to leave. So we start with some assumptions based on common, business patterns, um, and we come up with some hypotheses. Okay, so we have our hypotheses here. So we can break this down into three potential hypotheses. The first one is maybe they stop paying and they could be unhappy, with the pricing, or they don't need the tool, but they just stop paying for some reason. Okay. The second hypothesis is that maybe they're churning because they stop logging in which case they might not see the value in our product. So they actually stopped engaging with the product here. And number three is maybe they're still paying, okay, but they don't use the product. So they don't see potential value in it or whatever the reason, right? They're still paying, but they just don't use the tool. And then this could be very sweet. Maybe they don't know how to use the tool. Maybe there's not enough support, training, whatever. But this is an opportunity. All of these are potential opportunities for us to improve and provide potential solutions. Um, okay. So now we've come up with some hypotheses, and these don't have to be spot on, right? It's just you thinking and mapping out some possibilities based on the context of the business, and maybe whatever data knowledge you have thus far, right? And this whole exploration phase is what comes next. So let's actually break these down, hypotheses down, maybe into some personas and define those personas. Okay, so create a little table here. So earlier we came up with the people that maybe they stopped paying. So people that stopped paying will fall under maybe this persona of financial churn. Okay. Um, And what we're doing here is we're also defining a date range. And the reason we're doing this is because when you're doing any sort of analytics, you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples and you want to have less variables so you can kind of focus in on the problem. And so what we're doing is we're setting a time bound here for last 90 days. Then we have the folks that we spoke about earlier in our second hypothesis that may have not logged in for 90 days. They haven't engaged with our product. These people will fall under the persona of engagement churn. Then we have the silent churn folks. This is kind of like the dangerous one because these folks are still paying, but they're not logging in. They're not engaging with the product. These guys are people that will churn and fall into maybe potentially these groups. Okay, then last but not least, we have everybody else. So these are the folks that are still paying and they're actively logging in, they're engaging with our platform, they're healthy in our books, right? And in the way that we want to define this. So now that you kind of have these potential personas, you can go and say, let's see, you know, what type of solution each of these customers can fall under. So if they fall under financial churn, so these are the folks that just stopped making payments in the last 90 days, maybe these are people that we re-engage. We send a discount to them, maybe re-engage with the platform that way, or we send them an exit survey so we can find out the reasons as to why they're no longer a paying customer. Then we have the engagement churn, right? So in this case, people are just not logging in for whatever reason. And in this case, we want to maybe trigger a win back campaign, introduce new features, send them more news articles, support articles in terms of how they can leverage their platform. And then the folks that fall into the silent churn, these guys, same thing. We want to offer them more training, understand, why they're not engaging with the platform, offer further support. Over here, we looked at potential opportunities for adding more features and doing upsells, or even having, your customer success team reach out, do some outreach, and try to re-engage these folks with the platform. So this is just very basic, very, very basic. Like data sets get more complex and these ideas will expand when you're solving problems for more complex and established businesses, okay? So we've kind of structured the problem now, right? We understand some of the things that we want to look at. We have our personas. These are the guys that we want to go after and try to understand. Let's move over to writing the SQL queries to actually detect the churn. Okay, so you have the data sets. The link will be in the description of wherever you're watching this. And we're working with 4 tables here. We have the customers table, subscriptions, transactions, and user activity. They're in the form of CSV. We are going to import these into PostgreSQL pgAdmin and leverage that. Okay. So hopefully you have somewhere where you can follow along with this. There's a lot of tools out there you can import, dbeaver or whatever. But if you're looking for my solution, I just went and installed PostgreSQL. They support many different operating systems, so you can download one according to your operating system. And these also come with pgAdmin, which is where we're actually going to be executing our queries. So go ahead, you can download this, import your data, and download the data sets, import your data, and then you can follow along with me. All right. So let's open up pgAdmin. I've already gone ahead and created a database here called SaaS database. If you don't know how to do that, you just right click on database, create database, and then from there you need to create your tables, and then you can import the data from the tables. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but hopefully you kind of already understand that. And if not, look it up. Maybe I'll do more basic videos down the road, but we're actually trying to solve a little bit more of a complicated problem here. Okay, so let's start coding. We're going to go to our query tool here, and we're going to start with the first folks. So here we want to find financial churn. So these are people who stopped paying. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by checking the latest payment date for each customer. Okay. So before we even do that, let's go here, and I want to see. So we're looking at people that their last payment date. So this data should live in the transactions. Um, where I think it's this one actually. Yeah, okay. Transactions. And so we have some columns here. We have transaction ID, customer ID, amount, and we also have transaction date. So a customer ID is important because this is how we're going to identify the customer. And then we have the transaction date. These will essentially give us what we're looking for, right? So let's go back. I'm actually just going to close this here so I don't get confused. And yeah, let's go back here and let's start our first. So we're going to select, we had customer ID to identify the customer, and we're going to select transaction date from the transactions table. Okay. And so right now we're looking at like customers and their transaction date, right? But we want to know here the last payment date for each customer, right? How do we get the last? We will basically just take the max, right, of the transaction date. And here we'll just call this as last payment date. Okay. From transactions, and because now, yeah, we got a group by, so we're going to do group by customer ID here. Okay. So this, if we just run this, we will now get our customers, right? And their respective last payment dates. Great. So now we're going to go take this a step further. We're going to filter out these customers who haven't made a payment in the last 90 days. Remember, I talked about date bounding, comparing apples to apples, having a subset of the data that you're looking at, right? So we're working with the same query here, with the exception that now we're going to add having, and we're going to address that last payment date. So last payment date here is less than the current date minus 90 days interval, 90 days. Okay, and we should be able to run this. Perfect. So we have now we've actually now we're looking at the customers and their last payment date. Okay, so this is something that we're going to use. So if a customer stopped paying, it's likely a pricing issue, budget cut, product dissatisfaction. This is where the business should maybe look at like triggering some sort of retention email before they leave completely, right? And this would be an opportunity and something for you to bring back to the table, essentially. Okay. Let's go to step 2. So here, what we're doing is we're finding engagement churn. So this is going to be who stopped logging in, and let's go back to our Miro board. Oh, you know what? I think I closed it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We don't need it. Yeah, engagement churn was one of the other things that we were looking at. And here, what we're going to do is start by finding out the last date that a customer logged in. Okay, so we got to go back to our data sets. The last date that a customer logged in. So we have sign up date here in customers, user activity table. So think of this as like a web events table in a way. It's obviously a lot simpler than what they look in the real world, but this is a rough idea, right? So we have an event type here in this column, and we have event type login, right? So we can actually track users' logins. Okay, so let's go back here. We know what table we're working with. So here what we're going to do is select customer ID, and we're going to select the last, no, we don't have that yet. So what we're going to do is event date, right? But we need to add a where clause here. So where event type equals to login. So customer ID, event date, but we want the max of this because that would be the last time as last login. That would be the last time that a customer had logged in, right? Basically. And here we're going to need to group by customer ID. Okay, let's run this query here. And oh, we have select customer ID. Oh, uh, I didn't even define from the user activity table. There we go. Yeah, all right. Okay, there we go. Got our list of customers who had their last login and their last login date, right? We need to add to this now. So we're going to filter users who haven't logged in for 90 days or like 90, yeah, 90 days plus, I guess, in this case, because yeah, we'll include those folks. So it's going to be essentially the same query here. So I'm just going to copy to work off of that, but we're going to add the same having max of event date, which is our last login date, less than the current date minus 90 days. So let's run this. Perfect. Last login date. Perfect. Now we filtered this data set. So these are users that actually haven't even engaged with the product and in months, right? And maybe they need more onboarding or a reactivation campaign. Again, that's stuff that you kind of that comes into storytelling a little bit. All right. And now let's go to step 3. So this is going to be the silent churn, folks. Let's here we're actually, so this is going to be interesting, right? Here we're looking at who pays but doesn't log in, right? So now we are looking at transaction data, and we're also looking at user activity, right? Because we're combining payment and their login data. So here we're going to select obviously our customer, and we're going to also select our transaction date, right? We want the last payment, oh sorry, we want the last payment date here as well. And we also want the last login date. So that'll be this, right? From the transactions table, and we'll just alias this T, and then we can go ahead and actually add this to our relevant columns, right? We're going to do a left join on user activity. We'll just alias that UA on, and it's going to be customer ID as well here, right? UA dot. All right. Yep, we'll need to group this by t dot customer ID. And I think that is it for now. So this is our customers and their last payment date and their last login date, right? So now we are going to add to this and say, let's filter these by those who still pay but don't log in, right? So we still want their payment date to be within the 90 days, but their login date to not. So how are we going to do this? So we'll just use the same query, but we're going to add to this having max of your transaction date greater than or equal to the 90 days. Okay. And max of UA dot event date, right? Which is our last login date is less than the current date minus interval of 90 days, right? And let's run this. Great. So these customers are those who still pay but don't log in. So these customers might churn soon, even though they're still paying because they're not engaging with the product. So this is something that we got to be proactive about, and this is an opportunity for us as we identify them. Okay. All right. So now we're going to combine everything. So we're going to start here by defining the churn types based on different customer behaviors. So to achieve this, we create something we call a common table expression, or a CTE. We're going to call this churn data, where we classify customers into different churn categories. Okay, so we have again, financial churn. These are the folks who haven't made any transactions in the last 90 days. We have the engagement churn. These are folks that haven't logged into their account in the last 90 days. We have the silent churn. These are customers who have made a transaction in the last 90 days but haven't logged in or engaged with the product in the same period. And then we have our healthy or active customers. These are people who do not fit into any of these churn categories and are what we consider healthy. So let's start. We're going to start with a CTE to classify customers based on their transaction and login called churn data as, and we're going to open up some brackets, and we're going to say select customer ID, name, and email. Okay. From customers, and we're going to alias the C customer ID. We're also, let's just put, let's organize this, guys, because this is going to be a rather a longer query. Okay. So simply, we're just retrieving a list of all the customers. At this point, if you want to run the query, you can. I'm going to move on to identifying the financial churn. And basically, we have already defined that financial churn folks are those who haven't made a transaction in the last 90 days. Okay. So let's add to this. We're going to do from customers. Yep, that's good. And let's do a left join. And we're going to open up a subquery here. We're going to do select customer ID from the transactions table. And we're going to, hold on a second. Yeah, we're going to do having max of the last transaction date less than the current date minus the 90 days, right? So this is going to be financial churn. So and we're gonna join on customer ID. Okay, sorry about my formatting here, but just trying to get through this. Okay, so now we can go, so we should probably say here, so we need to bring in our fc dot customer ID as financial churn flag. Yeah. Okay, let's see if this is working right now. So where are we wrong here? Oh, we need to group by customer ID, and what am I missing here? This is raw, guys. This is max. So this is defined as FC, and we're left joining on this. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, now we have our financial churn flag based on this definition here. Okay, so this is correctly marking those folks who haven't made a transaction in the last 90 days. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to define engagement churn. Okay, so to add on to this, now it's going to get a little bit longer. We're going to do another left join, open up a set of brackets, and we're going to do select customer ID from user activity table this time, right? Because this is our engagement churn. So where event type equals login, we need to define that. Having max of event date less than 90 days. And let's close this. We need to group this by customer ID. And we need to give this an alias engagement churn on customers.customer ID equals cc.customer ID. Okay. So let's run this and make sure this is working. Oh wait, did we define the engagement? No, we got to go back up here and we got to say ec.customer ID as engagement churn flag. All right, that's good. Now this should work. Let's run it. Forgot a comma there. All right, there we go. Okay, so good, that's working. Now we're gonna include our last piece, which is the silent churn folks. And in order to do that, we're going to now, you guessed it, we're going to left join. So customer ID, we're gonna do a left join, open brackets, and we're gonna do a select customer ID. This is gonna be from transactions, okay, and left join user activity, which is UA on the transaction.customer ID equals UA.customer ID. And we're going to, yeah, let's do the group by first this time. Group by UA dot, sorry, no, T dot customer ID because that's what we're selecting. And then having max of T dot. So this will be their the latest transaction date. And let that be greater than or equal to the current date minus 90 days. Okay, and also, and we also want to do the event date as well, right? So this is basically less than and we're going to close that as silent churn on C dot customer ID equals sc dot customer ID silent churn. And so this ensures that we are capturing the latest transaction, which should be within within 90 days. Okay. And the last login is older than 90 days. So again, these are folks that are paying in the last 90 days, but have not logged in or engaged with the platform. So let's run this. Oh, we forgot to add silent churn dot customer ID as silent churn flag. And this time I will not forget the comma. So let's run this fella here now. Um, what am I doing wrong here? This should be, uh, okay, yeah, we got it. I think I just selected it wrong. All right, now we got our silent churn flag as well. Last but not least, so now we got our silent churn flag as well. Last but not least, we need to go in and we need to create our case statements, which are going to which we're going to convert these flags essentially into, right? So what we'll do is here we're going to put a case, and we're going to do when. Let's just copy this. Okay, is not null, then okay. Let's do the same thing here. Churn, sorry. Wow. Engagement churn, and here we're gonna have silent churn as silent churn, is not null then, is not null then. I think that's good. And we're going to say else. So if they're not in any of these categories, then they're going to be healthy customer or active. We'll end as churn type. All right, let's run this. Let's run this. Oh, we don't need those there. Okay, so we can just. All right, now let's run this. Oh, little typo. Um, what is going on? Okay, there we go. All right. Still got S under end of output customer ID. Okay. All right, there we go. So now we've defined our customers, their name, their email, and their churn type. Excellent. So at this point, we can confirm that each customer in this list is classified, right? We can go through this. We can see they're all classified. They fall into one of the churn types. So now that we have churn classification, we can either code in the rates, or we can take this into Excel, and do it there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to export this table. So let's save results. yeah, I'm gonna overwrite this final data here. And now what we can do is go into an empty spreadsheet and let's import our final data. Yeah. Okay. All right, our data is here. We're going to select it, go to Insert, Pivot Table. Let's just do it on a new sheet, stay organized. What's cool now is that you can actually have these suggestions. So you can see like AI um, kind of helping you with these suggested things. So that it's reading your data and it's like, okay, we can do the count of customers or we can do the count of unique customers. Um, right? We're just gonna drag the churn type into the rows field. Now you can see we have our different churn types that we've defined, and then the customer ID into values. And we're gonna change this to count or count unique, doesn't really matter. Um, so now we're looking at our pivot table, which is showing us a breakdown of customers by churn type. If we want to calculate some key metrics, we can also do that. And the way we're going to do that is, so what we'll do is we'll do churn rates, right? So here we're going to do equals, so our financial, so hold on. Let's do, okay, hold on. Let's just go here. We'll do KPI. So we'll do churn rate. We're going to look at the specific engagement churn rate. This is going to be overall, right? And then we'll have our financial. Oops, what did I write there? Financial churn rate. And then we will also do our silent churn rate, right? Um, so let's do this one, which is going to equal our financial churn plus the engagement churn plus the silent churn, okay? And let's group these, oops, okay, and divide this by our total. And this should give us a percentage, which will be our churn rate. For the engagement churn rate, we're just going to simply just do the number divided by the grand total. And for financial, we're going to do the same thing, divided by the grand total. And for silent, we're going to do the same thing, which is very minuscule. And let's give these percentages. So here, what we know so far is our overall churn rate is 73.5. Our engagement churn rate is 29.48. And our biggest contributor out of the three that we categorized or mapped out would be financial churn. So folks that are leaving for some sort of finance related reason. Maybe the price point's too high, maybe they're not engaged with the product, or whatever the reason is, it's related to them not paying, essentially, right? Um, so now you can actually go and say, you know, 44% of our churn is from financial issues or users not paying, right? Let's do a deep dive on that, or let's do maybe you meet with the marketing team. Let's do a discount campaign, right? And so this is where the storytelling portion comes in, and you work to analyze the end result essentially. Understanding churn isn't just about running queries. You have to understand that it's about helping companies retain customers, improve their product, and increase revenue. At the end of the day, that's what makes a great analyst. So that's pretty much it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this project. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so excuse me if I was a little rough. But you know, Definitely, if you have any suggestions for other SQL challenges or data related challenges, drop your ideas and show some love, and let's keep learning together. Share this video, like it. I would really appreciate it. And check us out over at codedlevel.com, where we are helping people develop a career in data. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys all for the next one.